Welcome to the iconic audiobooks. Today, we will be listening to the audiobook title, Stay Ahead of 99% of People. Subtitle, Master the Habits, Mindset, and Systems that Unlock Rare Success. Introduction. The gap few dare to cross. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. Jimmy Johnson. Why do some people consistently outperform the masses, while most tread water or drift backward? The truth isn't buried in mystery. It's in plain sight, masked by discipline, focus, and clarity. This book is your map. It isn't about gimmicks or shortcuts. It's about understanding the mechanics of success that the top 1% live by. You won't just read about them, you'll implement them. Ready to join the rare few? Let's begin with a raw observation. Most people want to be successful, but only a few are willing to do what success demands. The rest convince themselves that the successful are either lucky, naturally gifted, or simply in the right place at the right time. While those factors can play a role, they are not what separates the 1% from the rest. The real differentiators are invisible to the untrained eye: habits, decisions, mindset, and most importantly, consistency. Every day, you're faced with two roads, one well-traveled by comfort seekers and one walked by those committed to excellence. The former is seductive, easy, familiar, and without resistance. But it leads nowhere remarkable. The latter is steep, uncomfortable, and often lonely. But it's the only road to greatness. This book exists to help you navigate that second path. The comfort crisis. Let's be honest, we live in the most comfortable era in human history. Everything is optimized for convenience, from food delivery to digital entertainment. But comfort has a dark side. It dulls ambition, saps discipline, and breeds complacency. The danger isn't that comfort is bad, it's that it slowly replaces challenge, the very thing that fuels growth. Extraordinary people deliberately step outside the warm cocoon of comfort. They embrace discomfort as a training ground, not a threat. Whether it's waking early to train, starting a side hustle after a full day of work, or sitting in silence to confront inner fears, they choose to grow when others choose to retreat. Success leaves clues. The most successful individuals in any field, business, athletics, art, science, all follow similar principles, though their paths look different. They set clear goals, focus intensely, and execute with discipline. They reflect, learn, iterate. They invest in themselves through reading, coaching, and relationships. If you study them carefully, you'll see a pattern. Not of magic, but of mindset. Not of hacks, but of habits. The difference isn't that they're superhuman. It's that they do what others won't do, not once, but daily. The hidden costs of mediocrity. Most people underestimate the cost of living below their potential. It's not just missed income or prestige. It's waking up every day with the weight of unfulfilled purpose. It's the dull ache that comes from knowing you're capable of more but not acting on it. Over time, this leads to resentment at others who dared to chase their dreams, and at oneself for not trying. Mediocrity isn't neutral. It quietly erodes your spirit. Choosing excellence isn't just about success, it's about freedom, the freedom to live with intention, to lead with impact, and to die with no regrets. The unseen game. Imagine life as a game with two layers. The outer layer is visible to everyone. Jobs, achievements, followers, possessions. The inner layer is invisible. Beliefs, mindset, focus, energy. Most play only the outer game, chasing shiny objects and external validation. The elite. They master the inner game first. They work on their thinking. They sharpen self-awareness. They regulate emotion and build resilience. And in doing so, they gain a powerful edge, because when the inner game is strong, the outer game follows. This book teaches both layers. It doesn't ask you to copy someone else's life, but to upgrade your own from the inside out. Who this book is for. If you're tired of settling, this book is for you. If you've had a glimpse of your potential but haven't yet unlocked it, this book is for you. If you're willing to do what 99% won't, so you can live like 1% do, then this book is definitely for you. You don't need to be the smartest or most talented person in the room. You just need to be the most committed. This book is for entrepreneurs building something meaningful, students aiming higher than grades, professionals who want more than a paycheck, creatives who want to leave a legacy, anyone who believes they have more inside them. What you'll learn. Across 6 compact but powerful chapters, you'll discover how to craft a clear, compelling vision for your life, build discipline that feels automatic, not forced, learn faster and more effectively than ever before, leverage tools, people, and systems to multiply your output, build a network that elevates your thinking and opens doors. Each chapter is built with clarity and action in mind. No fluff. No filler. Just real-world strategies, mental models, and execution plans. By the end, you won't just think differently. You'll live differently. The price of entry. There is no cost to dream, but there is a price to win. That price is action. It's persistence when you'd rather quit. It's humility when ego would be easier. It's saying no when distractions call your name. Many will read this book and feel inspired. Fewer will apply it. Fewer still will keep applying it when it gets hard. But those who do, they change everything. One step ahead, every day. You don't have to leap to the top overnight. You won't. But if you get 1% better every day, you compound results no one else can see, until they suddenly can. The key is momentum. Start small. Win today. Then win tomorrow. Let each victory build on the last. Soon, you won't recognize your old self. Are you ready? The 1% didn't get there by accident. They got there by intention. Now it's your turn. This book is more than pages. It's a contract. Between you and your best self. Sign it not with ink, but with effort. The gap between ordinary and extraordinary is real. But it's crossable. The question is, will you dare to cross it? Let's go. Chapter 1. Master the inner game. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. If you want to stay ahead of 99% of people, it doesn't start with better strategies, tools, or even opportunities. It starts with mastering what happens between your ears. The inner game isn't optional. It's foundational. Your thoughts shape your reality. Your beliefs dictate your behaviors. Your self-concept controls your decisions, which in turn control your outcomes. That's why the most successful people aren't just skilled, they're mentally sharp, resilient, and deliberate. And yet, this is where most people fail. Not because they lack potential, but because they've never been taught how to think. They've been trained to react, not respond. To cope, not to grow. To avoid discomfort, do not lean into it. 1. The operating system of your life. Think of your mind as an operating system. If it's cluttered with limiting beliefs, unresolved fears, and outdated narratives, no amount of productivity hacks will save you. Your internal code determines whether you execute or procrastinate, whether you rise under pressure or retreat into self-doubt. You can't outperform your mindset for long. Eventually, your belief system catches up to your ambitions. If you believe you're not worthy of success, you'll find ways to sabotage your progress. If you believe you're not disciplined, you'll avoid the systems that require consistency. That's why mastering the inner game is not motivational fluff. It's necessary maintenance. 2. Cultivate ruthless self-awareness. The journey begins with awareness. Most people go through life on autopilot, reacting based on unconscious programming from childhood, culture, and past failures. They repeat emotional patterns, make decisions from fear, and wonder why they stay stuck. If you want to grow, you have to see yourself clearly without judgment, but with ruthless honesty. Start asking yourself questions like, what patterns do I keep repeating? Where do I consistently sabotage my progress? What story am I telling myself that keeps me small? Write the answers down. Track them. Journal consistently. The goal is not to feel bad, but to see the code, so you can rewrite it. Awareness alone is powerful. It interrupts autopilot. It creates space for change. 3. Use visualization as mental rehearsal. Visualization isn't woo-woo. It's neuroscience. Your brain doesn't distinguish much between real experience and vividly imagined ones. That's why elite athletes, military personnel, and high performers across industries use it. When you visualize success, not just the outcome, but the process, you're rehearsing the mindset and behaviors required. You're creating familiarity with discomfort, resilience, and execution. This reduces fear and builds mental clarity when it's time to act. How to practice. Spend 5 to 10 minutes each morning visualizing yourself doing the hard thing. Making the call, showing up early, pushing through a workout, writing the chapter. Imagine the emotions, the obstacles, the triumph of follow-through. Don't just see the win, feel the work. Repeat it enough, your brain will begin to accept this as normal. And when hard things feel normal, execution gets easier. 4. Practice deliberate discomfort. Comfort is a liar. It convinces you that safety is the goal. But safety is not the path to greatness. Growth is. And growth lives on the edge of discomfort. Top performers don't wait for challenges to appear. They seek them. They build tolerance by doing hard things on purpose. This might look like taking cold showers trains your nervous system. Speaking publicly, even if your voice shakes. Choosing the harder task at the gym or the workplace. Saying no when people-pleasing would be easier. Why does this matter? Because success is hard, life is uncertain. And if you're not training for adversity, you'll break under pressure. Deliberate discomfort builds the psychological calluses that prepare you for real-life difficulty. And over time, your identity shifts, from someone who avoids hard things to someone who handles them. 5. Confidence is evidence, not emotion. Too many people wait to feel confident before they act. But that's not how it works. Confidence isn't something you feel first, it's something you earn through action. Each time you do something uncomfortable and survive, you collect evidence. Each time you follow through on a goal despite fear, you deposit into your self-trust bank. Eventually, the balance is so high that you stop questioning whether you can handle things. You know you can. So, stop waiting to feel ready. Start acting, and let confidence catch up. Build it by keeping small promises to yourself, wake up time, workout, reading habit. Showing up consistently, even when it's inconvenient. Forgiving yourself quickly and recommitting after mistakes. Confidence grows in motion. Keep moving. 6. Rewrite the inner narrative. Most people walk around with a script in their heads that sounds like, I'm not good at this. People like me don't succeed. I always mess things up. These are not facts. They're stories. And stories can be edited. The 1% write different scripts. Their internal dialogue sounds like, I can figure this out. Discomfort is a sign I'm growing. I'm the type of person who follows through. To change your narrative, interrupt the old one the moment it appears. Replace it with something slightly better, not delusional, but empowering. Speak it, write it, believe it, until it becomes natural. Remember, your brain is always listening. What you say to yourself matters. 7. Protect your mental environment. You become what you consume. If you feed your mind negativity, gossip, and outrage, you'll operate from stress and scarcity. If you feed it wisdom, clarity, and possibility, you'll operate from strength. Audit your inputs. Who are you following online? What kind of content fills your screen? Who do you spend time around? Be ruthless. Protect your mind like your life depends on it, because your quality of life does. Surround yourself, virtually or in person, with those who stretch you, who model excellence, who speak life into your goals. Final thought. The inner game is the only game. Everything external is temporary. Markets change. Jobs shift. Circumstances evolve. The one constant is you. And if you're not grounded internally, nothing you build externally will last. Mastering the inner game means stepping off autopilot and choosing growth, clarity, and ownership every single day. It's uncomfortable, but it's also where the power is. You don't need to be fearless. You need to be aware, intentional, and relentless. Start now. Train your mind like your future depends on it, because it does. Chapter 2. Build habits that outlast motivation. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle. If you were to follow someone who consistently stays ahead of 99% of people, you'd quickly notice something. They don't leave their success up to chance. They don't rely on bursts of motivation or emotional highs to perform. They rely on systems, structure, and most importantly, habits. Motivation is unpredictable. It comes and goes like the weather. If your success depends on feeling inspired, you'll never gain real traction. The top performers in every field know this. They've architected lives around behaviors that happen automatically, without debate, without resistance. And that's what this chapter is about. Building habits that work even when you don't feel like it. The power of compound habits. Let's start with a simple truth. The small things you do daily matter more than the big things you do occasionally. One intense workout means nothing if you skip the next 10. One clean meal won't change your body. One day of deep work won't build a business. But when these small actions become habits, things you do automatically, they compound. They multiply. Over weeks, months, and years, they produce results that seem extraordinary to others but are completely logical to you. The formula is simple. Tiny behavior times consistency times time equals massive results. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year. The 1% understand the inverse is true, and they build habits with a long game in mind. Why habits? Motivation. Motivation is an emotion. It's unreliable. One day you wake up fired up, the next you feel like doing nothing. If you make decisions based on how you feel, you'll only act when it's convenient. Habits, on the other hand, don't care how you feel. They're automated. Once formed, they run in the background like software. Think of brushing your teeth. You don't need motivation. You just do it because it's part of your daily operating system. That's what you want for your workouts, your reading, your planning, your sleep, your success rituals. Habit Formation 101. How habits work. According to behavioral psychology, every habit follows a 4-step loop. Cue, a trigger that prompts the behavior. Craving, the desire or motivation behind the habit. Response, the actual behavior. Reward, the benefit you get from the action. If you understand this loop, you can shape your habits intentionally. For example, cue, waking up in the morning. Craving, energy and clarity. Response, drink a glass of water and stretch. Reward, you feel awake and sharp. Repeat this loop enough times, and the brain wires it in. That's when effort fades and automation begins. Use habit stacking to build with ease. One of the easiest ways to build new habits is through habit stacking. Coined by James Clear in Atomic Habits, this technique involves attaching a new habit to one you already do consistently. Here's how it works. After I current habit, I will new habit. Examples. After I brush my teeth, I will write down 3 things I'm grateful for. After I pour my morning coffee, I will review my top 3 goals for the day. After I take off my work shoes, I will do 10 push-ups. This works because it piggybacks on something that's already ingrained. You don't need to remember the new habit, It becomes a natural extension of your routine. Make habits obvious, easy, and rewarding. If you want a habit to stick, you have to design for it. Willpower is unreliable. The environment is everything. So, make your good habits obvious, easy to start, and satisfying to complete. 1. Make it obvious. Put your gym shoes by the door. Lay your journal on your pillow. Keep your water bottle on your desk. Eliminate "I forgot" as an excuse. 2. Make it easy. Start small. If your habit takes too much effort, you'll resist it. Don't aim for 60-minute workouts if you haven't exercised in years. Start with 10 minutes. Build up. 3. Make it satisfy. Check a box on a calendar. Track your streak. Celebrate the win, even if it's small. This reward tells your brain, do this again. The easier it is to start and the more satisfying it is to finish, the more likely the habit becomes permanent. Track progress to build momentum. Humans are visual creatures. We like to see our progress. That's why habit tracking is so powerful. It turns consistency into a game. And when you track your habits, you're more likely to keep them. Here are simple ways to track. Use a physical calendar and mark an X for each day you complete the habit. Use a habit tracking app. Many free ones exist. Keep a daily log in your journal. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for consistency. If you miss a day, don't miss twice. The key is momentum. The more wins you collect, the more motivated you feel to keep going. Remove friction. Add support. Want to make a habit stick? Make it easier to do and harder to avoid. Remove friction. Put your phone in another room when working. Prep your meals in advance. Set your clothes out the night before. Add support. Tell someone about your goal. Find a habit buddy. Join a group or community aligned with your habit. When success is the path of least resistance, habits stick without a fight. Build identity-based habits. Here's a critical shift. Don't just build habits to achieve goals. Build habits that reinforce the person you want to become. Instead of saying, "I want to read more," says, "I'm a reader." Instead of, "I want to exercise more," says, "I'm someone who moves daily." When your habits align with your identity, consistency becomes natural. You don't have to force it. It becomes who you are. Ask yourself, what kind of person achieves the results I want? Then act accordingly, one small habit at a time. Discipline isn't doing everything. High achievers don't do more, they do less, better. They aren't addicted to grinding. They're addicted to executing the few things that matter repeatedly. That's the difference between busyness and mastery. Don't spread yourself thin with 20 habits. Focus on 2 or 3 that create leverage. When those are solid, layer on more. This is about sustainability, not sprinting. Discipline isn't about restriction. It's about liberation. When your habits are dialed in, life becomes easier. You waste less time deciding, negotiating, and procrastinating. You just do the work. Final thought. Built to last. Anyone can start strong. Few finish strong. The difference isn't talent, it's habits. The best in any field isn't always the most gifted, but they are almost always the most consistent. Build your life around habits that reflect the future you're creating. Let them run in the background like a perfectly tuned engine. Let them carry you through the hard days when motivation is nowhere to be found. When your habits align with your identity, and your actions match your ambitions, success is no longer a question of if, only when. Your life reflects your habits. Choose them wisely. Chapter 3: Ruthless Focus in a Distracted World. You will never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks. Winston Churchill. We live in the most distracted era in human history. Our attention is under constant siege by pings, pop-ups, social feeds, and the addictive design of modern technology. The average person is bombarded with more stimuli in a single day than someone from a century ago might have experienced in an entire year. And yet, attention is the gateway to everything we want. Focus is the key to deep work, creativity, execution, and progress. It's not just a productivity tool, it's a competitive advantage. If you can consistently direct your attention where it matters, you will outperform almost everyone else. Not because you're smarter, but because you're more present. In a world addicted to distraction, focus is a superpower. Attention is currency. Spend it wisely. Every time you switch tasks, you pay a tax. Psychologists call this the switching cost. Each interruption, each glance at your phone, each tab change doesn't just take a second. It disrupts your mental flow, and it can take up to 20 minutes to regain deep focus. Imagine if a pickpocket was stealing money from you every hour. You'd stop them. But attention theft is more subtle and far more damaging. When your attention is fractured, your work suffers, your thinking degrades, and your life feels chaotic. The top 1% understand this. They treat attention as the finite, non-renewable resource it is. They guard it. They design their environments to protect it. They prioritize it like their life depends on it, because their success does. The myth of multitasking. Let's kill a myth right now. Multitasking doesn't work. The human brain is not wired to focus on multiple cognitive tasks simultaneously. What we think of as multitasking is actually task switching, and it leads to lower performance, more mistakes, and mental fatigue. Every time you try to write an email while checking Instagram or sit in a meeting while responding to texts, your brain is splitting its capacity. You might feel productive, but you're working with a dull blade. High performers don't split attention. They channel it. They do one thing at a time, with full intensity, and then move to the next. One task. One screen. One objective. That's the rule. Use time blocks to create deep work windows. Deep work is a term popularized by Cal Newport. It's the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. This is where your best thinking, best creativity, and best output happen. And it doesn't happen by accident. You schedule it. Here's how to use time blocks. Plan. At the start of your week or day, block out time for focused work. Treat these like meetings with your future self. Batch similar tasks, group writing tasks, admin work, calls, or meetings into specific blocks. Avoid context switching. Set boundaries. During a deep work block, go offline. Turn your phone off or leave it in another room. Use tools like website blockers if needed. Start small. If you're new to deep work, begin with 25 to 45-minute sessions, Pomodoro technique, then gradually extend. A few hours of deep work per day is more valuable than 10 hours of scattered, distracted effort. Focus is the multiplier. Design a distraction-free environment. Your environment either serves your goals or sabotages them. If you're constantly reacting to your surroundings, your attention doesn't stand a chance. Here's how to optimize your environment for focus. Declutter your workspace. A messy space clutters the mind. Keep only essentials in view. Control digital noise. Silence notifications. Disable email alerts. Use do not disturb modes. Sign out of social media when not in use. Use one screen. Multiple monitors can be helpful, but only if they serve a clear purpose. Otherwise, they invite distraction. Invest in tools, noise-canceling headphones, ambient focus music, or apps like Freedom or Cold Turkey can help. Remember, productivity is easier when your environment doesn't invite procrastination. The power of saying no. One of the most underrated focus strategies is simply this: say no more often. The world is full of opportunities, requests, distractions, and obligations. Many of them good. But good is the enemy of great. Every yes you give is a no to something else. If you're saying yes to too many meetings, you're saying no to deep focus. If you're saying yes to every social event, You're saying no to recovery and progress. To sharpen focus, build a decision filter. Does this align with my top 1 to 2 goals right now? Is this the highest use of my time and energy? Would I still say yes if this were tomorrow at 7 a.m.? If the answer is no, protect your attention. The 1% aren't available to everything. They're selectively available. Train your attention like a muscle. Focus isn't just a decision, it's a discipline. Just like physical fitness, it improves with consistent training. You can train attention with mindfulness and meditation. Even 5 to 10 minutes a day of intentional breathing builds awareness and mental control. Monotasking. Practice doing one thing with full focus, reading a book, writing a paragraph, solving a problem, without breaks. Digital detoxes. Regularly go offline. No social media, no screens. Reclaim your mental space. The goal isn't perfection. It's progress. Every day you train your focus, it gets sharper. Every time you resist distraction, you strengthen your will. Create a focus ritual. Rituals are signals to your brain. It's time to enter a different mode. Create a pre-focus routine. It might include clearing your desk, putting your phone away, making coffee or tea, playing a specific playlist, reviewing your goals for the session. This ritual becomes a cue. Your mind learns, when I do this, I go deep. Small routines create big momentum. The more you focus, the less competition you have. Here's the hidden secret. Most people won't do this. They'll continue to check their phones 96 times a day. They'll multitask themselves into mediocrity. They'll claim to be too busy to focus, while wasting hours on distractions. That's your advantage. In a noisy, attention-starved world, clarity is rare. But when you focus, you move faster. You make better decisions. You get more done in less time. You experience flow, the state where great work happens effortlessly. The top 1% aren't smarter. They're just less distracted. Their focus becomes their differentiator. Final thought. Focus is a choice. You won't magically find time to focus. You make it. You protect it. You fight for it. Because every hour spent unfocused is a missed opportunity to advance your mission. Every day spent distracted is a day you drift farther from your potential. So choose to focus, not once, but daily. Create the systems. Build the rituals. Guard your attention like your future depends on it, because it does. Ruthless focus isn't extreme. It's necessary. And the good news? You can start today. Chapter 4. Leverage time, don't chase it. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Abraham Lincoln. Time is the great equalizer. We all get the same 24 hours in a day. No more, no less. But the difference between those who get ahead and those who stay stuck isn't how much time they have. It's how they use it. The average person is caught in a cycle of busyness, constantly reacting to demands, always running out of time. They chase productivity hacks, to-do lists, and motivational boosts, hoping to squeeze more out of an already crowded day. But they're playing a losing game. The top 1% don't chase time. They leverage it. They multiply their impact without multiplying their hours. They do less, but what they do moves the needle further and faster. The secret. Leverage. What is leverage? Leverage is the force multiplier that turns limited input into exponential output. It's how you do 1 hour of work that creates 100 hours of value. It's how you build assets, systems, people, content, code, that continue working for you long after you've stepped away. Think of leverage like compound interest for your time. Used well, it frees you. It elevates you above the hustle. It lets you scale without burning out. Leverage isn't just smart. It's necessary if you want to break free from the ceiling of time-based effort. The trap of time for money thinking. Most people operate on a direct exchange model. Time for money, time for output, time for results. They work harder, not smarter. This might feel noble, but it's limiting. No matter how productive you are, there's a hard cap on how many hours you can work. Without leverage, your income, impact, and freedom are forever tied to your physical presence and energy. The goal isn't to work more hours, it's to create more value in less time. That's where leverage enters. The 3 core types of leverage. Let's break down the 3 most powerful and accessible forms of leverage: people, technology, and content. Master even one, and your growth accelerates. Master all 3, and you become unstoppable. 1. People. Multiply through delegation. You're not meant to do everything yourself. Yet many high achievers fall into the trap of trying to control every detail. It feels efficient in the short term, but it's a massive bottleneck in the long term. Delegation isn't about giving up responsibility. It's about freeing yourself to focus on your highest leverage tasks, the things that require your unique creativity, insight, or decision-making. Start by identifying what only you can do. Everything else? Create a system for it or delegate it. Examples. Hire a virtual assistant for scheduling, email filtering, and admin work. Outsource design, bookkeeping, or customer service. Build a team that handles execution while you focus on strategy. The goal is not to do more, but to do less, better. Freeing up 10 hours a week by delegating low-impact tasks lets you invest that time in what drives results. 2. Technology. Automate to escape repetition. If you do a task more than twice, automate it. That's the mantra of time-leveraged thinkers. Technology allows you to create systems that execute tasks faster, cheaper, and with fewer errors than you could ever manage manually. Ways to use tech for leverage. Use automation tools, like Zapier, Make, or IFT, to connect apps and move data automatically. Schedule email campaigns, invoices, or content with platforms like MailChimp or Buffer. Set up online booking systems so clients can schedule time with you without back and forth. These aren't just conveniences, they're force multipliers. Each automated task is time-consuming, and each hour saved can be reinvested in strategic growth. Remember, every minute you spend manually doing something a system could handle is a minute you're choosing not to scale. 3. Content. Create once, impact many. Content is the most underrated and most scalable form of leverage. Whether you're a creator, entrepreneur, teacher, or professional, content allows you to reach thousands, or millions, with a single effort. A podcast, blog post, video, or course lives forever online. It continues to educate, sell, and build your brand while you sleep. Ways to use content as leverage. Record your knowledge once, via video, audio, or writing, and share it repeatedly. Build evergreen resources, FAQs, onboarding materials, training modules. Turn repeated conversations into downloadable guides or content series. The beauty of content is that it detaches your value from your time. You don't have to be present to make an impact. That's true freedom. Shift your question from "how can I do more?" to "how can I do less while achieving more?" Most people's instinct is to add to-do lists, tasks, commitments, even tools. But the most effective people think differently. They subtract. They streamline. They ask, what is the smallest input that produces the biggest output? That's the leverage mindset. It forces you to identify bottlenecks, simplify workflows, create reusable systems, build assets that compound value over time. Examples of leverage in action. A single email template that saves you 10 minutes every time you respond. A webinar that brings in leads every week with no live involvement. A content series that answers common questions and reduces customer support requests by 40%. These aren't glamorous, but they're powerful. Small shifts, multiplied over time, create massive results. Don't confuse activity with progress. Busyness feels productive. It gives the illusion of progress. But if your activity isn't leveraged, it's just motion, not momentum. The most successful people don't win by doing more. They win by doing less, better, and more strategically. Ask yourself often, am I working on high-leverage tasks right now? Is this the best use of my time, or just the easiest? Can this be automated, delegated, or systematized? Your answers will tell you whether you're truly moving forward, or just running in circles. Sharpening the axe. Invest in the system, not just the strike. Abraham Lincoln's quote about sharpening the axe is more than just poetic. It's a metaphor for preparation, leverage, and smart effort. Most people rush to chop without preparing. They dive into execution without systems, clarity, or support. And then they wonder why they're exhausted with little to show. The elite do it differently. They invest time in setting up the system, in building infrastructure, in designing tools, hiring people, and documenting processes. Yes, it takes more time up front, but it pays off exponentially. 1 hour spent building a workflow can save you dozens in the future. Sharpen your axe. Final thought. Hustle is overrated. Leverage isn't. Hustling your way to success is admirable, but it's also inefficient and unsustainable. Leverage isn't about doing less out of laziness. It's about doing less by design. It's the art of working smarter, not just harder. It's the difference between staying busy and building something that lasts. Time doesn't scale, but leverage does. Start identifying opportunities in your life right now. What tasks do you repeat? What drains your time without adding value? What skills, tools, or people can free up your bandwidth? Use your hours not just to work, but to build systems that work for you. That's how you stop chasing time and start owning it. Chapter 5. Execute relentlessly, reflect often. Vision without execution is just hallucination. Thomas Edison. Ideas are easy. Everyone has them. Some people have a dozen before breakfast. Others spend their lives sketching business plans, drafting passion projects, or dreaming up new ways to change the world. But ideas, by themselves, are worthless. Execution is everything. If you want to stay ahead of 99% of people, stop overvaluing inspiration and start over-delivering on implementation. The difference between those who talk and those who win comes down to one core habit. They act, consistently and deliberately, regardless of how they feel. The top 1% don't wait until it's convenient or exciting. They move. They build. They ship, again and again. But they don't just execute blindly. They review, refine, and evolve with equal intensity. This chapter is about marrying relentless execution with thoughtful reflection. Together, they form your operating system, a repeatable rhythm of action and analysis that drives sustainable, long-term success. Execution is the great separator. There's a harsh truth that separates top performers from the rest. Most people don't do the work. They study, they plan, they talk, but when it's time to show up consistently, especially when it's uncomfortable, they vanish. Execution is rare because it's not glamorous. It's repetitive. It's slow. It's filled with uncertainty. But if you master it, you win. Because while others are debating the perfect plan, you're making progress. While others are adjusting their vision boards, you're adjusting your product, your skills, and your approach. Execution doesn't require brilliance. It requires discipline, and an understanding that momentum beats perfection every time. The myth of the perfect moment. One of the biggest execution killers is the belief that conditions must be ideal before you start. You need the right mood, the right time, and the right amount of motivation. But life doesn't work that way. Top performers don't wait to feel like working. They work until they feel like working. They understand that action creates clarity, not the other way around. There will always be distractions, discomfort, and self-doubt. The pros act anyway. They build the muscle of doing hard things, especially when they don't feel like it. And that's what separates them. Build your personal operating system. Great execution isn't random, it's structured. You need systems to ensure you're not just working hard but working smart. This is where your personal operating system, POS, comes in. Think of your POS as the framework that keeps you aligned, focused, and moving day after day, week after week. Here's how to build one. 1. Set weekly and daily targets. Start by breaking big goals into manageable chunks. You need clarity on what matters this week and today. Weekly targets. These are your short-term outcomes that align with your bigger goals. Think of them as mission checkpoints. Example, write 5,000 words for the book, or launch landing page. Daily targets. These are micro-tasks that push your weekly goals forward. Example, write 1,000 words today, or draft email campaign. Keep your daily targets few but powerful. Focus on 2 to 3 high-leverage actions. This prevents overwhelm and forces prioritization. 2. Use the power of the top 3. Each morning, write down your top 3 priorities, the tasks that will make the biggest difference today. Not the easiest. Not the most urgent. The most impactful. Ask, if I only accomplished these 3 things, would it move me forward? This forces clarity. It kills busy work. And over time, it compounds into serious results. 3. Eliminate low ROI actions. 80% of your outcomes likely come from 20% of your actions. This is the Pareto principle in action, and if you don't acknowledge it, you'll waste most of your energy on the wrong things. Start ruthlessly assessing your to-do list. Which tasks move the needle? Which tasks feel productive but aren't? What can be automated, delegated, or deleted? Stop measuring your day by how busy you were. Measure it by how effective you were. Execution without leverage is just movement. Execution with clarity is momentum. 4. Schedule execution, not just meetings. Most people have calendars full of calls and appointments, but no time blocked for deep work. That's a mistake. If you don't protect time for focused execution, it will never happen consistently. Use time blocking to carve out execution zones. This means scheduling real, protected time in your calendar to work on your most important projects. No calls. No emails. No multitasking. Whether it's 90-minute deep work blocks or Pomodoro intervals, choose a system that works, but make sure you own your time instead of reacting to others. 5. Track progress to sustain momentum. What gets measured gets improved. Tracking your progress creates visibility, motivation, and accountability. Use a simple tracking method. A daily habit tracker. A project dashboard. A weekly review journal. When you see your progress laid out, it reinforces your identity as a consistent executor. It becomes less about finishing and more about showing up daily. Small wins tracked over time create big shifts in self-belief and performance. 6. Reflect weekly. The 3R method. Relentless execution without reflection leads to burnout and blind spots. That's why you need a regular system to assess and improve. Try this simple weekly review process. The 3R method. 1. Reflect. What worked this week? Celebrate wins. Look at what you completed, what felt easy, what gave you energy. Build on this momentum. 2. Refine. What didn't work? Where did you fall short? What drained you? What habits broke down? Identify patterns without judgment. Then adjust. 3. Recommit. What's the plan for next week? What are your priorities? What's getting cut? What will you double down on? This is your chance to reset your focus. Do this every Sunday or any consistent day. It takes 20 minutes, but it will add weeks of clarity and save time across your year. Execution is a marathon, not a sprint. Consistency beats intensity, Every time. Most people go through short, intense sprints of productivity, followed by long periods of burnout and guilt. That's not sustainable. And it doesn't lead to mastery. The best doesn't go 110% for 3 days. They go 85% every day. They understand that showing up every day beats showing up occasionally with big energy. Build your routines. Protect your energy. Respect recovery. This is how you execute relentlessly without burning out. Remember, success is a rhythm, not a rush. The identity shift. Become a finisher. Many people start. Few finish. Be the exception. Start identifying as someone who finishes what they start. Don't leave books half-read, projects half-done, promises half-kept. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to close the loop. The more often you complete what you set out to do, the stronger your execution muscle becomes. Execution becomes who you are, not just something you do. Perfection is the enemy of progress. One of the biggest barriers to execution is the belief that everything must be perfect. It doesn't. You don't need the best plan. You need to move. You can revise as you go. Ask any successful entrepreneur, athlete, or artist. They didn't wait to feel ready. They launched. They improved. They iterated. And they won because they stayed in the game long enough to learn. So, ship the product. Publish the post. Make the call. Write the draft. You can't improve what doesn't exist. Final thought. Success is a system, not an event. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Vision matters, but without execution, it's just a hallucination. Real success comes from showing up when it's boring, pushing through when it's hard, and adjusting when it's messy. Execute relentlessly. Reflect often. Track, tweak, repeat. This rhythm of focused action and honest review is your edge. Not once. Not in short bursts. But consistently, deliberately, indefinitely. Do this, and the gap between you and the 99% becomes a canyon. Conclusion. Becoming the exception. Do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. Ralph Waldo Emerson. You've reached the final chapter of this book, but in truth, this isn't the end. It's the beginning. The beginning of a new mindset. A new way of operating. A new version of you. Reading this far already places you ahead of most. But knowledge without action is wasted potential. Wisdom without motion is empty power. The value of everything you've just read comes down to a single question. Will you apply it? Most people won't. Let's be honest. Many will close this book, nod their heads, and return to their usual routines, scrolling, reacting, avoiding discomfort. They'll feel good for having read it, but they won't change. Why? Because real change is inconvenient. It demands more than inspiration. It demands integration. It's one thing to know how the top 1% think and act. It's another thing entirely to become one of them. The difference between knowing and living. Let's revisit what you've learned. In Chapter 1, you discovered that mastering the inner game is non-negotiable. The battlefield of success begins in the mind. You learned that mindset isn't fixed. It's forged, day by day, in your choices, thoughts, and willingness to face discomfort. In Chapter 2, you learned how to build habits that outlast motivation. You saw how structure beats willpower, and how small, consistent actions compound into extraordinary outcomes. In Chapter 3, you understood that focus is your most valuable currency in a distracted world. That every distraction steals your future, and that ruthless attention is a rare but game-changing skill. In Chapter 4, you explored the power of leverage. How people, technology, and content can multiply your time and effort exponentially. And how to shift from being a worker to becoming a builder of systems. In Chapter 5, you learned the rhythm of execution and reflection. That consistency beats intensity. That real progress comes from showing up daily, refining regularly, and measuring what matters. All of this gives you an edge, if you use it. But it only works if you shift from knowing to living. From concepts to character. From reading to doing. Being the exception isn't glamorous. It's gritty. To live differently from the 99%, you must be different. You must make choices that most people avoid. Not just once, but repeatedly. When others sleep in, you rise early to write, read, or train. When others scroll endlessly, you open your notebook to reflect and plan. When others chase trends, you double down on timeless principles. When others seek comfort, you lean into discomfort, because growth lives there. This life isn't always exciting. It's often quiet. There are no applause breaks when you choose to wake up early, decline distractions, or hold yourself to higher standards. No one sees those moments. But you do. And your future will reflect them. Becoming the exception is not about extraordinary circumstances. It's about extraordinary consistency. You will be misunderstood. Do it anyway. If you choose to walk this path, expect friction. People will ask why you're working so hard. Why don't you just relax? Why are you not available 24/7? Why do you care so much about discipline, clarity, or leverage? They may call you obsessed, intense, or even arrogant. Let them. Most people defend their average lives because the alternative is to confront their potential and how they've neglected it. If your commitment threatens their comfort, they'll criticize it. Don't take it personally. Take it as proof. You're separating. Remember, it's lonely on the path less traveled. But that's where all the real growth happens. Your clarity will cost you popularity. Your success will trigger insecurity in others. And that's okay. Stay your course. The results will speak for themselves. The cost of playing small. Let's flip the script. If you don't act on what you've read, what's the cost? Waking up 5 years from now in the same place, wondering where the time went. Settling for a career that drains you because you never focused deeply enough to build what you wanted. Looking back on your life and realizing you never gave your best because you were too busy being comfortable. That's the cost of playing small. Not failure. Not embarrassment. But regret. Regret is the tax you pay for ignoring your potential. And it's one of the heaviest burdens to carry. So, ask yourself honestly. Are you willing to look back and know you had the tools, but chose not to use them? Success isn't complicated. It's just hard. The principles in this book aren't secrets. They're not flashy. They're not even difficult to understand. But they are hard to live with because they require effort without instant reward. They ask you to trust the process. To show up when no one's watching. To say no when the world wants you to say yes. To choose structure over chaos, depth over distraction, discipline over ease. Most people aren't willing to do that. That's why most people stay average. But you don't have to. Not anymore. You've seen behind the curtain. You know what works. Now the question becomes, will you do it long enough for it to work for you? Your new operating principles. To help you solidify your transformation, here are 10 core principles to carry forward. Act before you're ready. Progress comes through motion, not perfection. Discipline creates freedom. Structure allows spontaneity to thrive, not die. Simplicity wins. Cut the noise. Clarity beats complexity. Small steps daily. Big leaps come from tiny moves repeated with consistency. Protect your attention. Focus is your edge. Guard it ruthlessly. Build systems, not dependence. Automate, delegate, and scale design. Reflect to refine. What you track, you can improve. Don't rely on motivation. Build identity-based habits that outlast emotion. Value time more than money. You can make more money. You can't make more time. Play long games. Think in years, act in days. Live by these, And you'll operate differently from 99% of the world. Not because you're better, but because you're intentional. The long-term game, becoming a leader, not just a learner. As you continue this journey, you'll reach a tipping point, where you've not only mastered the content, but you've become someone others look to for guidance. That's when it's time to shift from learner to leader. Share what you know. Teach others to focus, to build, to execute. Model the habits you want to see in your team, your family, and your community. Because the real measure of success isn't what you accomplish. It's what you enable others to accomplish because of how you showed up. Becoming the exception isn't just about your freedom. It's about influence. It's about showing others what's possible when you live with intention and integrity. The ripple effect of your execution will change more lives than you'll ever realize. You've earned the edge. Now sharpen it. Let's revisit one last truth. Success is not an event. It's a rhythm. And once you're in that rhythm, once you're executing, reflecting, improving, your edge begins to show. You'll notice it in small ways at first. You finish what you start. You say no more easily. You default to action. You recover faster from setbacks. Over time, these small shifts become massive separations. One day, someone will ask how you built what you did. How did you become so focused? How you stayed consistent for years? And your answer will be simple. I stopped trying to be like everyone else. I chose to be the exception. Final invitation. Start again tomorrow. This isn't the kind of book you read once and forget. This is the kind of book that lives with you. Revisit these pages. Reread the chapters. Rethink your systems. Reinforce your habits. Then wake up tomorrow and start again. And again, the next day. Until it becomes second nature. Until you no longer must remember the path, because you are the path. You don't need more tools. You don't need to wait. Everything you need is already inside you. Now it's time to prove it. You've earned the edge. Now live like it. Be the exception. Thank you for listening to Stay Ahead of 99% of People. Subtitle: Master the Habits, Mindset, and Systems that Unlock Rare Success Until the Very End. We hope you found the insights and guidance helpful as you navigate your journey. If you enjoyed this book and found it relatable, please consider sharing it with your friends and family. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content that speaks to your experiences and aspirations. Your support means a lot to us. Until next time, keep exploring and pursuing your passions.